I'm going to do a process that I do with my patient. This process, I believe, is very, very efficient and simple because it's logical. And if you can relate to it, I highly recommend that you do it. It was created by Byron Katie. You can go to thework.org. You can listen to her CDs, she has videos and she has books. If you go to thework.org, she actually explained the whole process that you go through. She developed this way to release judgment. And basically, using the judgment that you have, the thought that you have thoughts that are good, positive, makes you happy, joyful, you're fine. But if you have thought that upset you, even if you don't think, any negative judgment about yourself, what's happening with you and anybody, anything around you, whether it's the president or it's your family, or it's I don't care who, coworker, will result in stress. You understand now why. Her system allows people to go to the bottom line. You make a list of judgment, and it's always better to start with somebody outside of you because always easier to see the lacking in people outside of you than yourself. Say you have a neighbor or family member or whatever that upset you. You make a list in writing. I repeat, in writing, because writing does something to your brain that imprints deeper. You write all the judgment, like he hates me, he's sloppy, he's stupid, he's mean, he's evil, whatever. Use all the judgment you can imagine. Don't skip judgment because it's not nice to judge. Just write any thoughts, negative thoughts that you have, or judgment you have about this person. Then you look at the judgment. So after you have a list of judgment, you investigate them. How you investigate them? You take each judgment. You should call it Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, which is actually good to do because you don't only write your judgment, you write how I would like this person to behave, to be, rather than the judgment that you have. So step 2, you ask yourself, or if somebody coaches you, is it true? So you can say yes or no. If it says yes, you ask them, can you absolutely know that this is true? So it'll say yes or no, whatever it says, okay. Then you ask them, how do you react when you have this belief? When you keep the thoughts, what is your feeling that comes up? How you react? So obviously, if it's a negative feeling, how would you feel? You feel upset, angry, whatever the feeling is. I do another step. This is why I wanted to demonstrate it with somebody. So that's what I do with my patient. You don't really need me. You can go to the website, go on the internet, see many, many really interesting examples how she works with people, how you can do it. Because of my experience, I added a step, and I like to do it. I can tell you what it is. I like to do it if somebody volunteers. If not, don't worry about it. The step that I do, you realize that the thought create negative feeling, right? And you already know the negative feeling that created by thought, that's what causes the problem with your DNA, because feeling is energy, for good or bad. So negative feeling is not helpful to your body. And also, what you have to understand, which I didn't mention, but it's important to understand, that feeling is the engine of creation. So if you're feeling angry, blaming the world or whatever, what's going to happen? Not only you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to attract angry circumstances, angry people, events that'll make you angry. It's really your creation, because you basically, your energy field is a magnet. If it's positive, loving, non-judgmental, all the good stuff, not only you attract good people and good things, and you're likely to attract the good aspect of people that are normally angry. They'll choose somebody else that is angry to be angry with them, but it won't be with you. Do you understand? So anyway, obviously, that's another example. So feelings are very, very important because they can amplify. And the deeper the feelings are, the more handicapped they will be to you, especially if the feelings are negative. And that includes if you feel that you're right and everybody is wrong, or that your religion or your philosophy is the only truth and everybody else is idiot or doesn't know what they're doing. You're playing God. That's really the problem, because the realization is that you're likely to have is that the only thing you can do, what quoting here, is love what is. You're not God. You cannot interfere with God's business, or other people's business, you can change yourself, nobody else. After you explore the feeling, you ask, who would you be? That's her words. Who would you be without these thoughts? So how would you feel basically when you don't have the thought? So usually you feel more peaceful, feel better, because all of a sudden the anger or the judgment, the negative judgment is not there. You're likely to feel better in some way. Whatever better feeling it is, I ask them to get to just focus on that feeling, whatever it is, any better feeling, no matter what it is. And then I suggest that they put the feeling in the heart and imagine the heart is like a sun that amplifies the good feeling, whatever it is. If you haven't listened to the effortless healing, because that's a little visualization. So basically I tell them, feel the feeling in your heart, which is like a sun of love or unconditional love. If you're Christian, you say the heart of Jesus, or whatever it's for you. Any feeling you put in your heart, as I said, will amplify it, because your heart doesn't think. Feel that feeling with no need to understand, explain, blame, figure out. Just let it be. Put it in your heart, which enhance the feeling, and incidentally, just focusing on the feeling will enhance it. And then you just imagine that as the blood flows, pumps through your heart, it being charged, because again, water in nature and in your body is really an information system. It charges energy, this feeling, into your blood, and you just visualize it or imagine it just going to all your organs, all your cells, all your subatomic particle molecules, your whole levels of your being is submerged, absorb this energy. So you just do it for a few moments. And again, if you listen to the effortless healing, it gives you detailed visualization. And once you do it, it'll take you just split of a second, literally, to get into the feeling. So that step that I'm adding, again, as I explained, feeling is the engine of creation. So you don't have to do it, by the way. It's okay if you don't do it, but I believe it can enhance the effect of the process. After you did this, you investigate. What do you mean you investigate? You do what we call turnaround. What is a turnaround? Turnaround is, for example, if you say that the person is angry, you ask yourself, have I ever been angry in a similar ways, maybe angry with myself or others? Most likely you find out, yes, I have been like that. Or he's mean. Have I ever been mean with somebody, intentionally, unintentionally, or in hindsight, I realized I was mean, or mean with myself? Let's say you're not really mean and you don't recall being ever mean, but you may be mean to yourself because you smoke or because you eat junk food or whatever, or you do things that you know better that's not good for you. It's also being mean to yourself. So you can extrapolate it, but what you will realize that when you judge, you really, it's something in you that you judge too. The way I look at it is, if you've been clean, so you cleared and forgiven yourself and have no leftover issue and energy block, you automatically will never judge anybody, because now you probably understand when you judge yourself, not only you're really hurting yourself first, it's like beating yourself up with a hammer, and it does you no good. Obviously, it doesn't do any good with the relationship with this person. And it's, even if the person is not in your life, you sure enough, because of your judgment, will attract people like him. And another thing that I miss, but when you ask how you will be without this judgmental thought or the thought, you also ask, how is the thought helpful to your relationship with that person? Is it helpful to your health? Obviously no. Does it do you any good? No. Does it do any good to your relationship or the other person that you judge? Obviously not. It allows you to see that your reality is a reflection of you in more ways that you realize. So for example, you can, let's say you have problems with your parents. You just write all your judgment of your parents or your family. And she actually has videos that explain that show you examples, people work on the family. And people realize, hey, the family are perfect where they are, because any reality that you have, it is. By resisting it, you're making it worse. It's not your business to judge any reality that you are, because when you do, you become part of it, entangled of it. And if it's negative in any way, the judgment, which means you're creating their own reality. She gave an example for that. Her daughter was on drugs, and she realized that obviously she was upset, scared that she will car accident because she was drunk or whatever and on drugs. So when you're doing that, what you really happening, not only your daughter is, or this person you worried about is on drugs, you're on drugs too because you're suffering from what they're doing. Is it helpful to you? Absolutely no. Is it helpful to them? No. Only when she stopped doing that, her children came and asked for help. I hope this is clear. You just have to experience it yourself to see that. But when you do this process on all your judgment of the person, it can totally not only change your relationship with the person and stop from being stressful, whatever aspect of it is stressful, but it also tells you about yourself. And again, you'll feel better. And when you start to feel better, the process that I described, your brain cells will change your DNA, and eventually automatically things that will bother you, judge, you automatically don't even judge it anymore and don't create thought that will be judgmental or harmful to the situation and to you. But you have to understand that having negative thought, it's not bad, it's not wrong. It just gives you an opportunity to process them and get rid of them. Negative thoughts, like anything negative happening in your life, it's really a gift, an opportunity to heal yourself. Do you understand that? Why I like this process? Because I think it can shorten the process. Because, for example, if you have issues with your parents or anybody that abused you, and it doesn't matter in what way, the most horrendous abuser, even people molested and raped, listen to the videos that she had on that. It's very interesting. By not healing what happened, totally healing and releasing all judgment, you're literally in an energy of molestation. So you block all your meridians of the sexual organ. It predisposes you for a relation problem with your spouse or with the other sex. It predisposes you for cancer of the genital areas, whatever, because you're still carrying off the abuse. And there's a way, and this is one way to go like a laser and clean it up. Now, what's interesting, I want to mention here that I use nutripuncture, and you can listen to my video on nutripuncture to facilitate this process sometimes exponentially. And the reason is that this specific trauma, whether it's sexual trauma, divorce, abandonment, or whatever, created certain blockages in your system that still there and affect you emotionally and physically and predispose you for problems. You can go to the past and do the work on people that abused you in the past. So I believe it's very, very efficient. Now, if you don't want to do that, you cannot relate to it, do not worry. Because if you do other things that I suggested consistently, eventually it'll clean the slate anyway. But often the past stuff is buried very deep and you might not even realize it, or you hold on to it because you've been victimized. Even if you victimized, you believe that you were and you're not releasing it, you keep victimizing yourself just without realizing it. It affects your health, emotionally, and physically. So that's really important. And again, you can achieve the same thing, just probably have to work possibly longer, but it doesn't matter. You also find out that I describe gives you many, many options to tools. So you're tired of one tool and feel like there's another tool work better for you or change the tool. Feel free to do that. There's no right or wrong or anything better than anything else because we're all a little different and what one really love, the other one, for some reason, it doesn't matter why, I cannot relate to it, whatever it's the work of Byron Katie or anything else that I describe. My book has a lot of tools also for self-healing. I have free visualization on my website, generic visualization for self-healing, and I have people heal themselves from cancer just doing this. We have also titles that you can order, but even the basic one will do the job. So if you like that, especially if you have a health challenge, that could be very helpful. Just do the visualization 25 minutes, 3 times a day if you wish, or listen to it, learn to do it yourself, or use the effortless healing short visualization. It all works. You just choose and pick what works for you. The other tools, the brain regeneration, my book, go to self-help tab on my website, drtalmor.com, and that'll give you all the information, including brain regeneration, which you're welcome to request. It's free. I'll email you all the instructions. You're never really a victim, and you'll eventually, if you read my book and listen to my videos, you understand you're really, truly not a victim. Therefore, you can wake yourself up and get out of the box. And when you get out of the box, there are no limits in the universe. to what you can do, what you can achieve. Does anybody wants to try the process? Any volunteers?
I'll do it right now.
You want to do it?
Yes, sir. I'll do it.
Okay. All right. As long as you don't mind, because it'd be recorded, so your voice will be recorded, not your full name.
Okay.
All right. Courtney, what I want you to do is just choose. You don't have to. Well, you can tell us, but it's up to you. Pick somebody that you have judgment, and just make a brief list of judgments.
And make a what of judgment?
Judgment about this person. Anything that you don't like in the person.
All right.
Okay. Go ahead and just take a moment and write just short sentence like the person is whatever. He doesn't understand me. He's mean to me. He doesn't love me or doesn't love me enough or whatever.
Got it.
All right. So write maybe 3 or 4 and let me know when you're ready.
Done.
Okay. You can tell us if you want who is the person. Don't have to identify them, but is it family or whatever?
Okay. It was an old boss that I had from the military.
Perfect. Okay. Give me the first judgment.
My first judgment was that they were judgmental.
Okay, they're judgmental. All right. Okay, so my first question is, you believe it's true?
That they're judgmental? Yes.
Mm-hmm. You've absolutely 100%?
100%.
All the time, nonstop?
I don't think all the time, but I think whenever a situation comes up, they are still more than most people I've met.
Okay, all right. How do you react? What do you feel when you have this thought? What is the feeling that comes up for you?
Uneasiness.
Okay.
It's almost like an anxiety,
like anxiety. Okay. Take the feeling of anxiety. Is it helpful to you in any way?
No, not at all.
Okay. Is it you feel like throwing a party to celebrate the feeling?
Never would.
Okay. Is it good for your health?
No.
Is it helpful with the relationship with this person?
No, it's not.
Okay. So how would you feel if you never had this thought?
It would probably do me better because then it wouldn't affect my personal health.
Right. So can you imagine, how does it feel to feel better? What is the feeling that comes up for you?
It probably would do better, actually.
You feel better?
It'd be better not to have it, right?
Okay, so can you imagine how would you feel better, right? A little, at least somewhat better, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what I want you to do is feel what it feels just to feel better.
Okay.
With no reason to understand, explain, just feel better. And get into the feeling, focus on the feeling. And if you want, just what I described before, focus the feeling in your heart. And just notice what happens when you focus the feeling in your heart. It's likely to expand, and you may have additional good feeling, peace, whatever it is, doesn't matter. And whatever feeling it is, notice that as you focus on it, it expands and intensifies. And do this little process where you imagine that as your blood is pumped through the heart with this feeling, it amplifies and becomes even more wonderful, just absorb into your whole body and being. So just do that for a couple of moments and tell me when you're ready to continue.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. Do you notice how you feel right now? Feel a little better?
Yeah, a little calmer, yeah.
Okay, all right. Now, let's look at the judgment. He's critical. Have you ever been critical in your life?
Yes, I have.
All right. Have you been critical about yourself?
Yes, I have.
Okay. All right. So just be aware of that. All right. What's the next one?
Angry.
Angry. Okay. Are you 100% you sure this is true? That he's angry?
I felt it was.
All right. And absolutely know that it's true. 100%.
I would guess yes, 100%.
Okay. Oh, okay. So what is the feeling that comes up for you when you have the thought?
Like questioning as to why?
No. What kind of feeling you get when you have the thought, he is angry? How does it feel to have the thought? What is the feeling that comes up for you?
Oh, the same, the anxiety as well as the nervousness with it.
Okay, all right. How would you be without this thought?
The same as the other one, much better.
Okay. The feeling that you have, is it helpful in any way?
No, not at all.
And you also realize that the guy that obviously was difficult for you, it's still affecting you today.
Yes.
Realize
This
that.
was over a decade ago. Yeah.
Exactly. How do you feel again when you don't have the thought that he's angry?
More calm, at peace.
Okay. So I want you again to take this feeling and do the same process briefly. Take your time and just let me know when you feel complete or you're done.
Okay, I'm done.
All right. How do you feel right now?
Better.
Okay. All right.
Like a sense of relief.
Good. Okay. Have you been angry with others in the past, intentional? Okay. Have you been angry with yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What's the next one?
Mean.
Mean. Okay.
That was the last one.
Mean. Okay. You're 100% sure it's true?
Yeah.
Totally. Okay. How do you feel when you have this thought?
The same, the anxiousness.
Okay. Only anxiousness? Okay.
Almost, it's like a nerve wracking.
Okay.
It's a weird
feeling. Okay. All right. Is this feeling helpful to you in any way?
No.
Okay. Helpful to your relationship with anybody or with this person?
No.
Okay. So how would you be if you did not have this thought at all?
Much better, probably.
Okay. So how would you feel if you didn't have this feeling?
Better. I just did the same thing just now, and it worked out.
You did already. Good. You're fast. So
yes.
Okay. So let me ask you: did you notice any difference in the feel each step? You notice a little better, a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
You notice it's a little kind of whatever. It could be very dramatic, but
right.
It could be subtle. Exactly.
It was subtle. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Courtney. So I hope this makes it clear to everybody. Appreciate you doing that. Any question or anybody really wants to do that too real quick? That's fine.
I would do it.
You want to do it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Could you move the page up more so I can
Sure.
see the steps?
Yeah. By the way, you can, if you go to our website, you can download all that. Let's see. Everything that took from her website. She also gives you a lot of more explanation and variation, and so you can get into that. If you don't want, if you just do that, that's fine, but you can get into more details. Mrs. Smith. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and make a list of somebody that you have judgments or you had judgments? Okay, so Mrs. Smith, go ahead. I mean,
Yes.
Make your list.
All right, I'm done.
Okay. Who is the person that you want to work on?
A family member.
Family member. Okay, so give me the first judgment.
Aggravation.
What do you mean by aggravation? He aggravates you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Are you 100% sure it's true?
Yes.
Okay. So he aggravates you. What is the feeling that you have when you have this thought?
High blood pressure.
Okay, but what's the feeling? High blood pressure
Tension.
is a physical result.
Tension.
Okay, what does tension feels like?
All your blood vessels are under pressure.
Yeah, I understand. But what is the feeling behind it?
Oh.
Is it you feel peaceful, pressure, peaceful,
No,
helpless? Okay, you feel helpless. All right.
Hmm?
Feeling helpless, is it pleasant in any way?
No.
Okay. Is it helping your blood pressure, helping your health?
No, sir.
Does it help you the relationship with that person?
No, I'm afraid not.
All right. So how would you be without this thought? If you didn't have it at all, how would it feel?
Oh, like heaven.
Heaven. Okay, good. So why don't you imagine being in heaven, feeling like in heaven. And what I want to do is just focus on this feeling notice that when you just focus on the feeling with no need to understand, justify, explain, apologize, or whatever, it will be intensified. Then put it in your heart and do the process that I explained. It's clear to you, right? Just
Yes, sir.
okay. Go ahead and do for the process and let me know when you're done.
I feel a lot better now.
All right. Now, did you ever aggravate? We'll turn it around. Have you ever aggravated somebody intentionally or unintentionally?
I'm afraid I have.
Have you ever aggravated yourself by doing something that you knew it's not and it caused you aggravation?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So just note that. Okay. What's the next one?
Greedy.
Greedy. Okay. Are you 100% sure it's true?
Pretty sure, yes.
Pretty sure all the time, no matter what, it's all greedy. 100%. That means it's like everything it says it does. Okay. Maybe
not 100%.
Okay. Maybe 99.9. Okay. All right. So what is the feeling that comes up for you when you have this thought?
Just terrible, the injustice of it.
Okay. What does injustice feels to you? How does it make it feel?
Weak and sad.
Okay, feel sadness. All right. Is the sadness helpful to you in any way, to your health?
No.
To your relationship with that person?
No, sir.
Okay. How would you be if you didn't have this thought?
Freer. Much, happier.
Much freer. Happier. Okay. So I want you to focus on imagine how does it feel to feel even happier? And just get into this feeling and do the little process. And let me know when you're done.
It's wonderful.
Okay. All right.
I cry.
Okay. So what I want you to do is to turn it around, which means, have you ever been greedy, intentionally or unintentionally, or worrying about money?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been greedy with yourself?
Yes.
Have you been greedy with others sometimes, intentionally or unintentionally, which means that you didn't realize the time, but later on you realize you were?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. All right, you have one more?
Manipulating.
Manipulating. Okay. So are you sure it's true?
Well, pretty much so.
Are you 100% sure?
Not 100%, but...
Okay. All right. Okay. So what feeling comes up to you when you have this thought?
Anger.
Anger. Okay. All right. Is the anger help you in any way? Good for your health?
No, sir.
Good for your relationship with this person and the rest of your family?
Oh, no, it's not. It's not beneficial to any part of me.
Okay. So how would you feel if you didn't have the thought?
Free and liberated.
Okay, so just imagine how does it feel to be free and liberated? Totally free and liberated, and put the feeling in your heart and so on, and let me know when you're done.
Feels like almost a godlike feeling. Like
okay, and just internalize it, put it in your heart, let it flow to the rest of your body, and just soak yourself with this feeling. Don't skim, just let yourself be in this feeling. There's no need to understand, to explain, to figure out.
Lovely. Almost feel a little guilty, feeling so good.
Good. Okay. So let's turn it around. So have you ever...
Oh my, yes, yes. Now the table's turned.
All right.
I'm sure I have.
With others, intentionally and intentionally with yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. How do you feel right now?
Oh, light as a feather.
Good.
Happy.
Okay. Is it helpful to your health?
Oh, yes.
The relationship with that person and anybody in your family and around you?
I feel 10 years younger.
Fantastic.
Feels good. Euphoric.
Right. Do you have another one?
Well, I don't want to.
No, it's okay. I mean, if you feel it's helping, no problem.
No, that was good.
Okay, all right. If you do that consistently, like with all the judgment, anything you can think of, and do it in writing, you'll see what happens. Everything I explained, you're literally changing your brain, changing your DNA. And when you eventually consistently feel good, you automatically will never go back. You basically program your DNA and your body to be happy, non-judgmental, and that means also health, obviously, and much, much more than that.
My mother used to say something. She'd say, you can't change your circumstances, but you can change the way you react to your circumstance.
Exactly. So how you think and how you feel about exactly how you interpret them. So I'll give you an example in my family. I have this family member in the hospital, and this lady has a blood pressure like 220 over 160, and they give her 9 medication to lower blood pressure, and guess what? Nothing works. So she wants to sign out, and they're afraid she'll drop dead from a stroke because of the blood pressure, that they cannot help her. So I say, okay, I explained the process. Say, okay, let's do it. And I did it on the phone, by the way. Turned out that her mother, obviously, well, it's a chronic thing that she was upset with her mother. So we did just a few things, just like I did with you. We did it with her mother. And what happened was that the blood pressure went down to like 180 over 120. Still high, but better, and she felt a little better. So then turned out that she was much angrier with her brother. So I said, okay, let's do your brother. So she did, again, she wrote a few things we did on her brother. Her blood pressure went 120 over 80, and she let her go home. So you can have sometimes amazing results. This is an example, just give you a taste of it, but you can.
I can't wait to apply these principles to many other situations.
Exactly. You can look at whatever made you unhappy or traumatized you or hurt you and just do that. You may experience amazing stuff, you're very likely, but you feel better for sure. And that's good for your health anyway.
For sure. I'll vouch for that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Linda, you okay?
Sure.
No, you don't need to unless you feel like it. It's totally up to you.
Well,
You're already done.
The whole person that I've been not wanting to do is a relative, and I see how, because I was growing up around this person, I chose to do the opposite. And it isn't that I don't want to say that I am not that I don't have those behaviors. I just see how I have gone the opposite. Like I've reacted so much as a little person that I am doing those things to myself.
Absolutely. Sometimes the case is that you may not do it to others, but you do it to yourself in a different way, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Because anything you resist, you create, whether toward others, toward yourself, or both. That's true.
Like if I found him unkind, I've gone to the point of I am too generous with my time and with money.
Exactly. And the reason is because you want to do the opposite. You think of goodness, which is good, but it's also resistance. And then you're really not yourself, because you don't do it because that feels right, but because you want to compensate for what somebody else did, because his family is important. Obviously, family is always important, whether you realize it or not. And it just makes you do things the other way, and you hurt yourself.
This is so life-changing for me, because you and I have known each other so long. You know that there are things that this kind of stuff I fight, like I give myself away, or I'm too honest.
Exactly. This is, sometimes you do things, the opposite of your parents. Let's say your parents were not perfect. They do things that are not right, or you realize hurt you. So you do the opposite, but guess what? You didn't release your things, so you overdoing it. For example, parents abandoned or didn't give you enough attention. So now you say, oh, I'm makeup and for it, and your children, you give them too much attention and you suffocate them. And that emotionally can contribute to asthma, to autism. It's very interesting because you basically suffocate your child, and then can also manifest in behavior, but also manifest physically. It's interesting that with small children, when we do the nutripuncture, we work on emotional trauma, I never treat the children. You treat the parents for their trauma, and the child is healed overnight. So the same token, you can do this kind of things, and it's very helpful. And I believe it's efficient.
When I was sitting here, doing it about him, I avoided it so much. The kind of feelings that came up with is like I'm being judgmental or critical or non-accepting, not trusting, a nervousness, on sabotaging. And when I said sabotaging, that made it so clear, that I have done these things to myself.
Right. So, yeah, exactly. That's a good example that we can overdo things because we didn't heal. We just to make up for trauma, but we don't heal the trauma. So we just transmute it to a different way of trauma while we think we're doing good. You're really not doing good to ourselves, sometimes to our children or both, or whatever is around us. All right. Well, thank you. Thank everybody. Thank you, Linda, for your sharing.
You're welcome. But what has really come about, because I've written it all out, what has really come about is that feeling better about him. I feel
it's about what?
About him, the person that gave her a hard time, that she judged.
Oh, about him. Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't understand. Okay.
So it's feeling better about him caused this like warmth about inside of me, almost like I'm being graced and I'm at peace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to overdo anything, and you can be yourself and do what's right, but not overdo. Even though you do it with good intention, you're shortchanging yourself and hurting yourself. You always have to be win-win to everybody. Then everybody gets more.
You know what's come up again? Now is that when I was so unhealthy, when I was getting all those pollen reactions in that, it was right around his birthday. And he lives in the States, so I wasn't around him at all. But as I look back, those reactions came.
No, actually, in the work that I do with nutripuncture, you identify that something happened, illness or even accident, when something from the past, upset from the past, trigger it subconsciously. But it created such stress that created sometimes the same type of trauma or repeated trauma that people have, because the brain was so stressed that they created the same circumstances. It's very interesting.
Thank you. All
right. Thanks, everybody, for attending tonight. Good night, everybody.